Good to see you there, and I want you talking just 1 second. So just hold on 1 second.
Yeah, and
I'm listening. All right. Good.
at the risk of very much oversimplifying this issue, I'm actually going to take it one level up on the information barrier chain. Because I think there are significant behavioral human issues as to how we deal with time and how we deal with money, or present biased meanings. Getting something now is better than getting it later.
So you really do think you need to get higher than
Yes, but
I was trying to make it grow. You want that as an explanation?
I mean, at the core of it, it's a behavioral issue in that sense, and there are a lot of institutional issues, which I think people highlighted really well, that have really grown out of those behavioral challenges that we prioritize now, and we prioritize now in our finances because we think is more valuable. And I mean, the challenge with that is that there is a huge piece of education that needs to be involved. And I don't say this lightly because it's a very oversimplified, it can be a very oversimplified word. But just one example, prior to coming to ACEEE, I was at MIT for a couple of years, and it was very interesting kind of having a backseat view of them and certain people who have studied and worked on energy efficiency trying to convince the administration at MIT. I mean, these are literally like Nobel Prize winning chemists and physicists and that sort of thing, that they should do this 2-year payback set of energy efficiency measures, and the utility was paying for half of it. I mean, and it was like pulling teeth. It took multiple years, one-on-one negotiations, these very custom packages, and it eventually happened because of those relationships, those hand-holding. It really is going to take that in some cases if we're going to do this on a piece of approach.
You're making me very scared.
It's scary out there.
Let me take this opportunity, because we only have Mr. Seidel here for a few minutes. But one of the things, we have someone who's been working in the Atlanta market, is leading the Better Building Challenge in Atlanta on behalf of the mayor, Rutherford Seidel, who's been working with Emerald Cities Atlanta. Now, this is a man who's actually gotten the industry.
Higher on the evolutionary chain.
I want you to spell his optimism. He's got, 30 million square feet of, 25 million square feet of buildings signed up for Atlanta's Better Building Challenge. He plans to win the national competition. I want to know, what does it take to get the CEOs of major commercial buildings to throw in? And how hard is it? What do you say? How do you win them over?
Thank you. I would say, first of all, we have an Olympic spirit. That's how we won the Olympics. It's not because it's an Olympic effort. Because I know there's competitive nature in everybody, and for the positive, because you catch more flies with honey than vinegar, is what I was talking growing up. And I do think that mandates are important. Don't get me wrong, because mandates, but nobody has to be told what to do, especially in this country, if you haven't noticed. And so I just came out to the first, this guy from China, and I was thinking, okay, well here, of course, demand, they tell you what to do, if you don't, you get to, I don't know what happens, something bad. But I was saying, a little encouragement, which would be through when you sell your house, or when you do something like that. My wife was walking in, and when we built a LEED certified house, and I was encouraged because I wanted to be the first in the country, and then everybody else heard about the program, and so it was a nice friendly competition among the first movers, first adopters. Obviously, the payback is a little longer than most people can afford, so we have to rework mortgages. I heard somebody was in charge of SBA lending. I grew up doing SBA loans, and I believe that all those SBA loans are real estate based. Sorry, how do you call me? Okay. The good news is I'm ADD that can do all this. The point is, the SBA program, those loans are all real estate-based loans to small businesses. You have ready-made bar orders that already have buildings that the SBA has already funded with 25-year amortization schedules. If you just went through and said, let's move it back to 30, and we'll give you about 5-year payback. We'll give you $25,000 to $250,000. I heard money wasn't a problem, but I think for most of these small businesses, it is, they just don't understand how to get to it. And then you have to go through a process of getting qualified ESCOs, of which I'm sure there's many in the room, you know, if you, and have them come in and do a good job, because we can't have one bad apple spoil the bunch. But in Atlanta, what I am enthusiastic is, we did a house, my wife and I did, we did an arena, part owner in the Atlanta Hawks and our arena down there, and I remember one of the ladies turned and said, we're going to be the first LEED certified for existing building arena. He said, well, what about the NBA championship? I said, we're going to win that too. It may take me a little longer. But I said, the good news is we can win this, and once we're number one, we'll be number one forever. We won't have to go back every year and try to win it over and over. So I got all my engineers in the bottom of the basement of most buildings. You'll find a bunch of guys that know a lot about buildings. And I said, you know, I'm telling you from the top, we're going to do this thing. You guys are the guys that built all the palm floats when I was in high school. I bet that's true. You know, all night long, they worked and they figured out how to turn all the screws and get everything going. And I was always so amazed in the morning. Everything was there, and I just got some tissue. And I always remember my engineering buddies, and they're good friends of mine. And I said, you guys, when we do this, we're going to put your banner up, and we're going to put it right beside Lou Hudson, Pete Maravich, and every great basketball player we had in Atlanta, and Ted Turner, we did one too. And we're going to say, you know, it's all because of you guys, and we're going to put on every door, 250 doors when you walk in the arena. And we won 4 hours. That year we beat Miami in the playoffs. And we also beat them 4 hours. And David Stern said that would never happen because they've gotten about a 3-month head start. But, you know, with the competitive nature of things, I think it helped. So we're doing the Better Buildings Challenge next. And that's where our mayor and I was at the basketball game. I said, what if we made this whole thing a competition? And I talked to some friends at DOE, and they thought it was a good idea. And I think they came up with an idea that maybe we'll make a competition. And so now y'all know there's a competition, I think Denver, which I'm a little scared about, just entered the competition. They got their ducks in a row. Seattle, I'm always scared about, because they've you know, the good, everybody in town's on board already that's been working on this. And you got Los Angeles, who I feel pretty good about. You got a lot of buildings. So, in Chicago, we keep saying they're going to, but, you know, just like Chicago, they haven't done it yet. But they're going to end up doing it. And Sacramento has PACE legislation. I think legislation for that kind of thing is very important. And I know there's some good foundations like CERTA and others that are all sort of the foundation community associated with one. You know, the reason they call them foundations is because they need to be the basic foundation of all things that are good to start with the initiation of things. And I think the foundation community in Atlanta is coming together. We're doing green grants for churches, for nonprofits, for everybody. And you get a little bit of money if you'll match it to change things over in your building, even if you only got a 5-year lease. So that tells the landlord that the tenant's restless and wants to get, you know, some basic things done because they don't want to pay more in rent because the utilities are attached to that. So I think it's it's never an easy answer. There's never a quick, you know, silver bullet, but it's a combination of competitiveness, some incentives, maybe a little bit of demand and control, where we say, you know, we want to do this. Obviously, the transient power companies, the few things that are left in this world, there's still monopolies in our country. They need to be on board in the footprints where they operate. And when you have one that's on board, then you can really take off. I think Georgia Power, I got my fingers crossed, they're all over this thing, and I understand this is an Olympic effort. You don't have to go build another peaking plant if you can really do this right, and that saves money, builds profits, and that's, you know, profitability, I'm sure, is what everybody's at in the power business. And also, it's the right thing to do for our country. And if you take a look at what's happened in Japan, post this terrible tragedy that's happened with nuclear power, you know, they've had to do it because it's a mandatory requirement now, so that everybody can have a little bit of energy just to survive and keep their businesses going. I hope we don't have to wait for a Katrina moment that happened to us in the United States. So maybe, you know, we take a look at China, we take a look at what happened in Katrina, and we say, you know, maybe we better do this for all those reasons. I do hear you that it's very frustrating, I'm sure, after 35 years, to sit there and say, well, when all this money's sitting there, all these good intentions are sitting there, a little bit, I hear you, Rutherford, a little more competitive juices, when I get some guys like you and some others to be competitive. We haven't done every arena yet, so that's an indication there's still some slow lines at work in the basketball and arena business, and hopefully they are not in the top echelon of basketball like we are in Atlanta, so I understand. But I will say that I think once enough buildings, it's like anything, we get some momentum going, once we get enough buildings, so we get 25 million square feet behind it going, it's going to be hard to get in the building next door that decided that they want to not do this, and then the tenants come in, Laura